It's 100 days until Halloween. It is kind of always Halloween in this place. Of course, the shop is always spooky. This time of year, a lot of the Halloween stuff is put away. Not all of it, of course, but a lot is up there. Tucked around in various places. Some of the costumes are still out. A lot are put away if the moths might eat them. There's witch hats, pirate hats, Viking hats. What have we got up there? Big old bat wings. This time of year, I have to look at all the Christmas and Halloween things in storage and say, not much longer. Not much longer, giant snake. Not much longer, parade puppets. I'm gonna say, I missed the halfway to Halloween hashtag because I was really busy. Also, I think my spooky season starts about right now, and it runs through Christmas. I'm very Victorian in my belief that ghosts are also appropriate at Christmas. And so many of these Victorian ghost stories are set not just at Halloween, but Christmas. I'm going to talk about favorite spooky books in a minute. Who else had this when you were a kid? That. Hey everyone, it's Kathy at Nothing So Strange. Happy Sunday. As you saw with the little bit I recorded for the beginning, when I started doing this video, which was 5 days ago, it was 100 days until Halloween, which is always my big kickoff moment for Halloween. I'm not a halfway to Halloween person so much because my Halloween season starts about now, or my spooky season starts now, goes through at least winter solstice, Christmas. I recorded a little bit of myself walking around looking at Halloween stuff downstairs, and I think I say in there, that'll be at the end, but I think I say in there that, it's a Victorian thing. Victorians told ghost stories at Christmas. That's what a Christmas carol is. It's a ghost story for Christmas. So yeah, halfway to Halloween, I'm like, I just got rid of spooky season. I'm not celebrating in April, but oh yeah, summer, yeah, I'm going to start the countdown. So today it's actually 95 days till Halloween, but I recorded the 100 days to Halloween because it's the big landmark. So I'm feeling kind of disorganized. I have this whole list of questions over here I'm looking at, and I'll just see which ones I feel like talking about as I work my way through this. and I'm going to make this a hashtag, and I hope people respond and play along, and also want to talk about Halloween, Samhain, Day of the Dead, the whole spooky season, and things you love about it. So, I think I'll start off with favorite spooky and Halloween memories from childhood. Halloween always been a huge holiday for me. We always dressed up. I grew up in a neighborhood, an old neighborhood where people knew each other, so there were actually still old people in the neighborhood when I was a kid who baked their Halloween treats. And you'd go over to Miss Abbott's, and she'd be all guessing who you were underneath the mask and say, "Come in," and there'd be a bowl of popcorn and a bowl of cookies and a bowl of candy that she had made. That was great. It's one of the good things about getting old is like you were alive for that. I remember some big Halloween parties when I was a little kid. The BTA had Halloween parties. They were really good times, really good costumes. Big trick-or-treating. I always loved costumes, and I always had costumes year-round, not just at Halloween. There was like a princess year, there was a witch year, a vampire year. I always seemed to grab one thing and stick onto it. We really liked, my brother and I, we really liked spooky books when we were little. So, at the Scholastic book fairs, we were always getting these spooky kind of haunted house, famous ghosts. Remember the drawings in these things? And this kind of illustration. What else? Ghosts and witches aplenty. And I know I was looking around, I couldn't find them. I've got stacks of movie monster books and how to do monster makeup. I remember when we were still in elementary school, my brother got a monster makeup kit and made this amazing kind of it was sort of a mixture. I think the eye falling out was sort of Hunchback of Notre Dame, but then there were like scars and whatnot. Actually made it with who knows what they had in a kit in the 70s, probably toxic sludge, but it looked really cool. And then these books, I showed this in the other video, but the Alfred Hitchcock spooky books. Some of these are classic stories. You have some like Huck Finn kind of stuff in here, and Sherlock Holmes. But the illustrations were so good. This is from a Sherlock Holmes story. Scary. Where's the one about the ghost? That really scares me. Forgotten Island. Mystery of Rabbit Run. Jimmy takes vanishing lessons. They have the little Alfred Hitchcock cameo, even in the illustrations here. Ooh, haunted house. Oh, that's one of my favorites. Some of these are a little confusing. I didn't really know what a moor was. People were always wandering around on the moors on these things. What else? Alfred Hitchcock Witch's Brew. Different style of illustration there, but still really good pictures. And, oh, how good is that? Monster Museum. I think when I was little, I didn't actually own any of these, but they were all in the school library in my elementary school, so we could check them out. Again, such a different world. One more. Okay, sorry. I looked for a second like I wasn't recording. I was like, no. ghostly gallery. Something floating up to the ceiling. All right, give me another good picture. Anyway, so when I was a kid, those are good memories. I remember when I was third grade, second grade. One of those years, so 7 or 8. I was sick on Halloween. I caught pneumonia, and I was super sick, and I could not go trick-or-treating, and I still feel a little deprived that there was a year when I missed trick-or-treating. So yeah, that'll be the first prompt. Favorite Halloween memories from childhood parties, costumes, trick-or-treating. Oh, if I can find the pictures, I'll see if I can put in a still of the first Halloween party I ever threw. I'm in 7th or 8th grade, so I'm 13 or 14, probably 13, looking at the pictures. It's great. They're really good costumes. A bunch of my friends are there. And, you know, clowns, and I think there's a Nefertiti, and I'm a vampire bat. There's a fortune teller. There's a vampire. Great. Second question. Do you like to dress up for Halloween right now? What's your favorite costume that you've ever had as an adult? What's your favorite costume you've ever seen other people wear as an adult? Do I like to dress up? If I could wear a costume every day, I would wear a costume every day. And so we always have what we call the emergency costume box. And there's, you know, just all the old costumes are in there because you might have a costume emergency. It has happened. People need to borrow a costume from you, or my friend Julie was doing an arm wrestling league once and she needed an entourage, so we're like, costume box. Or maybe you just want to put on a costume. I have a lot of capes and cloaks around. They're sort of all-purpose and useful. Favorite costume ever. I've had a lot of favorite costumes in the last few years. I was a Viking one year. I liked that. Kind of the Brunhilde with the braids and the hat with the big horns. A lot of times I'm a witch. I like witch hats. Oh, if you've seen my video with all the Ignatius hats, you'll know who I'm talking about. This is handmade Ignatius witch hat. Man, that's awesome. But yeah, a few witch hats around. My husband went on this inspired kick. I asked him if he would mind if I talked about this. He just got inspired about 15 years ago. We started, in our last house, started throwing Halloween parties every year. And the first year, he had been a little bit annoyed about the ridiculous sexy costumes. You know, like, okay, sexy costume is fine, but when you get around to sexy Freddy Krueger, come on, guys, really? Give it a rest. So he said he was taking sexy back for the men, and he didn't even warn me about this. In the first year, he dressed as sexy hobo. His shorts were so short, and it was hilarious. And then he got on this kick where he did it every year. One year he was sexy sheet ghost, very short sheet, sexy astronaut. 1 year I was Red Riding Hood, and he was the Granny Wolf, but he was sexy Granny Wolf. That was a year, first year that we quit having parties, and we were doing a couple of the big celebrations in Richmond. There's a couple blocks on Hanover Avenue that shut down, and it's just a party in the streets. And then there's a really huge Halloween parade through Oregon Hill, which later on when you watch the recording of me walking around, the big puppets are from that. Yeah, that year we were walking around like that, and I was like, God, I hope we don't get arrested for how short his Granny Wolf outfit is. But I just have such creative friends, and just the things they show up with. At one of our parties, one of my friends showed up as that mouse with the ear on his back. Look it up if you don't remember it. I remember a couple friends showing up as Orville and Wilbur Wright, and they had this huge airplane they had made, and you know, Bob Ross and a happy tree, double rainbow guy. Just so many really, really creative costumes. So yeah, love dressing up. Want to hear as prompt number 2 if you like dressing up, and what are your favorite costumes? Self, other people. Third, current Halloween traditions. We're sort of in a lull right now. We had the years of throwing parties, and then we had the years of doing the big Halloween parade in Oregon Hill. And now that we've moved a couple miles south to Petersburg, we've been trying to get things going around the store. Block and a half over High Street, there's a big trick-or-treat scene there, but people don't like to come around the corner to this part of the block, and we've had some of our neighbors down here go out, and grab trick-or-treaters and bring them back this way, because we have candy. Come get candy. But, now that we got the spooky store established, I think we need to start having Halloween events here. Last year we tried lighting a little bonfire and people came by. That was cool. I want bigger. I want big spooky Halloween event. Another one of my Halloween traditions is going to some place like Lowe's that, one of the places that has the really good Halloween decorations, and probably they're out now. Probably they've been out for a month. I like going in there, day or two before Halloween and taking a Halloween selfie, which usually involves me standing in front of a whole bunch of Christmas trees, rolling my eyes. I'll drop a couple of those, and I think my Halloween selfie from a couple of years ago I found, and it's from mid-September, and already the Halloween's gone and the Christmas is up. What other Halloween traditions? The year before lockdown, 2019, we every weekend went to the Poe Museum. We were still in Richmond, and there's a great Edgar Allan Poe Museum there. He lived in Richmond for a really long time, although he honeymooned right around the corner from me here. But we, that reminds me, while I'm talking about Poe, this would be a good moment to show you this awesome book. Have you all seen this? I collect many things in this world, and one thing I collect is pop-up books. So how awesome is that? Okay, wait, a little sticky here. All right. Look at that. Lenore. Anyway, that was too good to talk through. the Toy Museum, I was saying, in Richmond had every Sunday morning out in their little garden, had one of the staff come out and read a Poe story. And you just, wander back there and sit and listen. It was so good. So, some things I like to do every year, but I also things develop, things change. It's, I think, good to keep some fun old traditions, but also to look around for something new to do. How do you decorate your house for Halloween? We have a lot of decorations, and this is a little bit of a problem now that we live here in the shop, because I can't throw the things I love in the shop window because then people try to buy them, and I have to say, like, no, you cannot buy that. Come buy this other stuff, but they already want to buy the thing in the window. So yeah, I got a lot of spooky stuff for sale in the shop, and so it's decorated, but I'm like, where do I put all my other stuff? I don't know where to put all my other Halloween stuff. Some of it around here, obviously, but we're kind of spooky year-round, too. So it is a challenge figuring out where to put the extra bats and skeletons and what have you. Look at my questions. I'm going to save Halloween decks for later, I think. Okay. Ghost stories. What's the best real-life ghost story that has happened to you or a friend? My friends see ghosts. Not so much, which is probably good. But I'll tell you 3 or 4 ghost stories. Richmond just seems to be sort of haunted. The first 2 of these happened to my husband. He isn't committing about what happened, but they're good stories. And the first of them, this is 80s, I think. And I think it's right after they all graduated from high school, so they're still living at home, but, adults. But just barely. And he and all his friends are down. They're all punk rock. They're all downtown listening to a band. Show's over. Bars all closed. And they agree that they're going to meet together at one of their houses. They live not too far from downtown, so it's going to be 15-minute drive home maybe. And so he and one of his friends, his bestie, get in the car, start driving home, and all of a sudden they're like, wait, did we ever say whose house we were meeting at? I don't think we said whose house we're meeting at. So they think, okay, we'll just drive by everybody's house. Everybody lives pretty close, and see where everybody else ended up. So they start with this one guy's house, and I think the idea is it's a subdivision, but it's sort of a newly built one. So, and these people are sort of the last house built, and then there's maybe a couple empty lots and then a stop sign. So they start going by this first house, Vance and his buddy, and it's 3 in the morning by now maybe, and Vance pops his VW bug out of gear so they can slowly roll by the house. Don't wake up anybody in the house if the parents are asleep and this isn't where they're meeting. So they're rolling slowly and looking up to see if there's a light in the house, and all of a sudden a little old lady steps out from between 2 of the cars that are parked in front of the house. And they haven't seen her before this. She just kind of appears and steps out. And she's dressed like she's going to church or something. She's got, her nice outfit and hat. She's got a little purse she's holding. And she just steps out and is walking into the street. And she's crossing the street. And they're rolling slowly in the car. And it's timed perfectly so that as they pass her, she is right by the car. And she reaches her hand out towards the door handle. And Vance said that he and his friend were, both staring out the window. And when that happened, his friend turned around and looked at Vance and said, "Drive!" And so Vance pops it back into gear and goes, "Rah!" But they go up like, a house and a half, and there's a stop sign. So he stops and he puts the car in reverse so the reverse lights come on and light up the street behind him. And there's no one there. Ooh. So they aren't committing to what they think they saw, but they're like, it's an isolated neighborhood. Nobody's going to be like hanging out between these two cars dressed as a little old lady, waiting to see if somebody drives by at 3 a.m. slowly to prank them. So that's a good story. The second story is a house he lived in Richmond, on the edge of the neighborhood known as the Fan. And big old house, and that's back when Richmond was gloriously cheap, and this house had, 7 or 8 giant old bedrooms, and it was cheap enough that I think everybody had like a bedroom and a sitting room to themselves, and then there were common spaces in the kitchen. It was huge. Front staircase, back staircase. And he was upstairs in the back, and so he was generally the only one using the back staircase. And people came and went. There was the woman who rented the house that he was really good friends with, and then the third person tended to come and go. Somebody would be there for a year, then leave. But it's sort of a scattered story, most of it. Like, he sometimes would dream that somebody was standing in the door looking at him, of his bedroom, looking at him as he slept. He, at least once, was just walking down the hall toward the back staircase to go down to the kitchen in the dark, and had that feeling like when you walk by somebody in the dark. It's like, okay, that was weird. But nothing really solid. Just like, did I just walk by somebody? Why am I dreaming that people are looking at me when I sleep? Or one person is looking at me when I sleep. Not a big deal. He went away for a week on vacation, and when he came back, his roommate said, "What the heck's wrong with your room?" And he was like, "What do you mean?" And they said the whole time he was gone, it sounded like somebody was up in his room throwing things, and they think somebody broke in, go running up. Nothing. And they were the sort to not hear ghostly noises and ignore it, so they, went out and got a Ouija board and had this whole long story about the entity they contacted, who apparently just had a big crush on Vance. And really, who can blame the entity for having a crush on Vance? He's pretty crushable. One of my friends, about whom I'll give zero identifying characteristics because she didn't tell the story widely, back when she was a divorced mom, her kids were very small, she bought a house. This is the most practical human. She bought a house and moved into it, old house, another fan house. And she hadn't been in it really long when she was coming up the stairs one night and looked up and saw a man walk down the hallway upstairs. And she was like, "Oh my God, somebody's broken into the house." And I can't remember if she called the police or she just ran and got a neighbor to come help her search the house. And they found nothing. And it happened again. And it happened again. And I know at least one point she called the police and had them look through the house. Because she's starting to freak out a little bit that somebody was repeatedly breaking into her house where she lived with her 2 small children. And then she was telling one of the neighbors about that and described the man, and the neighbor just, as in stories like this, the neighbor kind of freaked out because Daphne had described the man who had lived there, older man who had lived there, who had died. I said her name. Okay, I'm going to try to edit that part out. She had described the my friend, who shall go nameless, had described the man who had lived there, um, who had recently died and sold the house. His widow was still alive. She was in a nursing home. And my friend, who shall be nameless, I swear I will not keep blurring out her name, knew people who still knew them because they'd been neighbors for a while. And she could kind of track that when she saw this man, because it looked like a man walking around the house, it was always at a moment when the wife was having a hard time with her health. And after the woman died, Daphne never saw the man walking in the house again. I said her name again. Oh my God. Okay, I'll edit that out. After the woman died, she never saw the man walking the house again. That's a good ghost story. And some other friends of mine lived in a house, which also everybody that lived in this house, and it was one of these enormous houses, big old house in the Churchill neighborhood. It's I think one of the only houses that was built during the Civil War, actually during the war. But everybody said they saw a ghost or heard a ghost or heard the footsteps on the stairs with the piano playing in the middle of the night or whatnot. But some of these were some of my more creative friends, and a couple of them had stories that were just like, okay, we're a little beyond believability now, but yeah, classic ghosts. So the ghosts, they don't talk to me, so I don't have any personal ghost stories. We started dating, Vince was living in a house that had a shimmer, and I saw the shimmer. It was really weird. And no, it wasn't the heat vent doing something, because it looked like the shimmer heat above the road on a hot day, that kind of thing you can look through. There wasn't any heat in the house, actually. It was before they put heat in most of the rackety old shanties in Oregon Hill, and now they're all selling for $500,000. But yeah, no heat in the house, nothing to cause a shimmer, and the shimmer moved around. Some days it wouldn't be there, and sometimes you'd be like, oh yeah, there's the shimmer. That's the only really ghost thing I've ever seen. Weird things happen, but full on ghost, haven't seen one. So what did we have here? We had Halloween memories, we had costumes, we had traditions, decorations. I talked about when my Halloween season is, and best real ghost story. I think that's enough for now. We're at about 30 minutes. It'll be more, hopefully, when I go back and edit out all the times I said my friend's name. She will not appreciate that if I tell her her ghost story. Anyway, so I hope I'll make a hashtag out of this. Thank you for listening if you're still here. I hope to hear many, many of your ghost stories now that it is 95 days, actually. 95 days now that I finished recording this to Halloween. And yay, spooky season. Y'all take care.